Hello everybody and welcome to my studio. My name's Lonna, and if you're here to paint with acrylic paints. So thank you so much for stopping by today. If you have not yet subscribed and at any point you enjoyed this video, I hope that you will subscribe and give me a thumbs up, share, and comment. So let's take a look at what we're painting today. It's going to be this one. Oh my gosh, look at that. I love this. I've titled this one Tasty Summer Treats. So fun, so fun. Now this would be so cute on a bag or on a box. If you have a child that loves ice cream, this would be a way for them to save their money to getting these tasty summer treats. So I think this one's going to be so much fun for you guys. I hope you're going to enjoy it. It's a pretty easy one, not got tons of steps to it, but I think it turned out so cute. And I am going to be using Deco Art Americana acrylic paints. So if you are ready, let's grab our paints and supplies and let's get painting. Okay, I'm going to start this project by painting the background. Now, I have initially painted the surface white. So if you want to paint it all black and then come in and undercoat all of your popsicle and ice cream things with white, you can do it that way. But I think on this project, I transferred on my lines and I'm going to paint around everything with 2 coats of lamp black. So 2 coats, 2 not heavy coats, and just take your time. Use an appropriate size brush for whatever area you're painting. I've got a fairly large brush here, and I'm just going to take my time. Get that a little bit of curve right there. This is a pretty tight area. I can manipulate this brush, but I'm just going to get 2 coats of black all over the background. So I'm just going to go off camera and do that because that's just, you know, basic painting in the background kind of stuff. So it doesn't need to require a lot of camera time for this. And depending on how well your black goes on, you may only need 1 layer of black, but I like to go back in and at least put a wash of black to make sure everything's smoothed out and nicely filled in. So I'll just go down to the bottom on this side, and then I'll go off camera and get all of my background painted, and then we'll come back. Okay, I've got 2 coats on here. Just a little tip to give you when you're painting your black background. Now, if you get into any of your white areas, just go back before it dries and remove that black paint. If you change the shape a little bit, like I kind of cut the corner here, no problem. We can probably fix that when we go in and base coat. But if not, it just gives it more character. The second tip is when you're putting on your second layer, it's going to be a thinner layer than your first one. And what I want you to do is tilt it in the light every now and then and see if you've got some buildup or thick paint, and go back and just gently with the tip of your brush smooth that out so that when it dries, your background is a completely smooth background. It won't have a bunch of brush strokes in it because you didn't use thick paint, and there won't be any thick globs of paint anywhere. So tilting it in the light as you go section by section will keep that nice and smoothed out, and when you're done, do it again to see if there's any places that you missed that you can smooth out. That's how you get a nice smooth background with a paintbrush when you're painting your background. So just a couple of tips there, and now we're ready to start painting on these delicious summer treats. Okay, now that my background is dry, we're going to start adding some color in here. But the first thing I want to do before we start painting, any of these lines that you've transferred inside, we want to lighten those up. And then any that are out here, around by the black, if you didn't cover them up with black, we're just going to erase those. We get those out of the way, and it makes everything a little bit easier. So it's mainly just all the outside edges. Make sure if you didn't get all the way to the line that we get it erased. Okay, I want to erase this line here a little bit. It's a little dark. And then this line here is a little dark. So I'm going to erase that back a little bit. I just want to be able to see it enough to know where, you know, my colors go. Okay. Just a few of those. Alright, brush your eraser shavings off away from where your paint will be so you don't get paint on anything. Okay, so we'll just start over here with this one. We'll go from right to left. That way we're not laying our hand in any paint here. So this is a vanilla cone. So I think I'm going to base coat it with, I think I might get my light buttermilk and base it with light buttermilk. Okay. Ooh, that still needs shook up. And then the part down here, I think I'm going to base with fawn. I think that will be a good base color for that. Shaking this up a little bit more because it wasn't shook up very well. There we go. That's a nice good color there. I can scoop that back up and stick it back in my bottle and shake it back in. So I might just do that. Let me get a different palette knife. Cut this out of the video. It's a lot of video time, me shaking a bottle and grabbing a palette knife. Okay, I'm going to put this, just about dropped it in it, back in the bottle so I can mix it back in with the paint. It just wasn't mixed well, but the paint's still good. Nothing had touched it, so we're all good. Okay, so I'm going to base in these areas here. And let me grab a small brush. I'm going to be using an 8 flat brush, but you use whatever brush you like to use. And I'm going to paint each section in individually. I really, those lines are very, very, very light on here, so they won't cause me any issues. They're just kind of a guide, so I know where I'm going to be putting like some shading and maybe some highlighting on here. And then this has a little curly loop there. So you want to try and create that if you can. If you can't, when you do your shading, you can create that. So I'm just going to paint over it and not worry about that little bitty line there. Okay, so that is my light buttermilk. That looks pretty good. I might mix my light buttermilk and fawn here. So I might do a 1-to-1 mix so I can get a much lighter color here. See if I'm even going to like this color. I'm not sure about it. That's not too bad. Alright, so we'll do an equal mix. Of light buttermilk and fawn. And again, I'm going to paint in my elements all by themselves. This is the edge, top edge of the cone. So keep it straight. Okay, then down here, my lines are still on there, but I may end up not seeing them after I paint this in. So you can put your lines back on after you get your 2 coats on, or you can just kind of wing it. If yours are still dark enough you can see through your paint, then you don't have to worry at all. If you get into your background, it's just black, so we can clean up the black. Okay, so right now we're just worrying about getting base coats on. So that's looking pretty good. Now with this one here, we're going to do some just washes of color. The middle section is white. We'll still wash a little bit of white on there. And then we've got red and blue here. So I picked Cinnamon Drop, I think is the color of this, Cinnamon Drop. We'll see how that's going to create a wash. And then I got Crisp Blue for the bottom part. And I might have to widen up my stick here or bring the black in and move my stick over. I feel like my stick is not in the appropriate place for this popsicle thing here. Okay, so I want to make a wash of the red. And we're going to paint the top part in with this wash. Go to our line. And then just wash it in. It's a decent pigmented wash, but it's still not truly deeply pigmented. And we'll do the same with the blue. We'll create a wash of blue. These colors are very bright and vibrant, so we don't have to use a lot of paint in our wash, because we can come back and darken right up to that one. Okay, I just want to make sure my line is fairly straight there. And I might bring my blue up a little bit farther. I think I want it to be a little higher up here. Trying to decide if I want to bring my red down any. I don't know if I can now that it's started to dry, so. I mean, where I drew it was fine, but I just felt like that was a huge white area in there. So just bring it down a little bit. When we add our second layer in there, it will be pretty good. So let me grab some white. I'm going to make a little wash of white as well. I went into my dirty water instead of my clean water, so it kind of tinted my white. So I'll just put a little wash of this in there. Okay. You probably won't even see that wash, so don't worry about it if you don't. It's just nice to have it in there. Okay, so I want to work on these areas. This is going to be chocolate, like chocolate coating here, but vanilla ice cream here, and then we're going to have a red drizzle with sprinkles. It's going to be a fun little ice cream here. So I'm going to put my vanilla ice cream in here first. Now we are going to have chocolate on the edge out there, so you know, you can go all the way to the edge or not. So our vanilla ice cream first. We're just going to get all of our base coats in. Okay, and we're going to have vanilla ice cream up here that's exposed. I think I'll grab a small brush for that. Grab a 2 round. And we'll put some of this in here. Everything will get 2 coats. I'm just showing you the first coats so that we can, you know, get everything base coated and start working from there. So this is going to be a chocolate color. I'm might do a mix here. I think one is going to be too light and one is going to be too dark. I've got milk chocolate and dark chocolate. So we'll see. I like the dark chocolate, but then I would have to shade with black, and I don't think asphaltum would be dark enough. So let me see if an equal mix here will be good for me. Get that moisture out. This is an equal mix of dark and milk chocolate. Can't see my lines very well, so I'm going to try and get them as close to what I have on my line drawing. Where's my line drawing? This one comes down here. And again, don't worry about getting into your background. Okay, and we're going to put some of this mix along this edge. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little bit up here along this edge, because we'll be seeing a little bit of that chocolate edge, maybe. Okay, and so we're going to base coat our sticks in. Yeah, I really want them to be a light color, so I might just go with the fawn on those as well. But I'm going to have to do something about this one. I think I'm actually going to have to make this bigger to be more substantial for that. So maybe I'll mix fawn and white. Let's do an equal mix of fawn and white. No, I have to do more white than that. 2 white, 1 fawn. Okay, so this is where I can fix that shape up, where I got it a little bit weird down there. I might change this to a 3-to-1. 3 white, 1 fawn, because I really want these to be light. So my second layer will definitely be 3-to-1. Okay, and then this one here, I'm just going to widen it. Hopefully this will cover that black. Might have to add more white to this one and then come back and put my base coat on. I just need to get that lighter color in there to cover that black. Your line drawing will be right, so you don't have to worry about doing this. You're just going to put your mix on here of fawn and white. 3 white, 1 fawn. Okay, I gotta get that dry and do another layer there before I actually put my base coat on. Okay, so for the pink part on this one, I think I'm going to try Razzleberry. Let's see how I like that. We're going to make this some fun summer treats. Alright, just base coating. So I could have probably left this part off the camera, but just in case you're new to doing this, I want to make sure you know how to do the base coats. Alright, so there's all my first coats. I'm going to get it dry and get all of my second coats on, and then we'll come back and start detailing. Okay, all my base coats are on and they are dry, so I'm going to work on this one over here. Now, if you can't see your lines, with this one I just drew them back on with my chalk pencil. I think this is an extra line in here that's not on the pattern. But if you need to draw them in, I would recommend using a watercolor pencil, maybe one that's a slight brown tint to it, because we are going to be shading with a little bit of brown on here. And my lines on here I can still see because I just use washes on here. Now, one thing I did want to tell you, well, actually two things. If your red and your blue are not very vibrant, you may have to wash over them 3 or 4 times. I think I actually washed over mine 4 times to get them as dark as what I wanted, but I didn't want straight paint. So that's why I just did washes. I can still kind of see through them. Over here, when you're putting on your base coats, if they don't seem very smooth after you get your second coat on, just put a wash of the color that you put on here on top of it, and it will all be nice and smooth after that. Okay? Washes of color make everything smooth out and fill in evenly. Okay, so we are going to take our fawn and we're going to shade a very sheer color of this fawn, so I'm really working it into my brush with some water. And we're going to just get our layers of ice cream figured out here. Just very lightly. Nothing incredibly dark. And then this one here. Just going to tap it with my finger so I can soften it up, and I'm going to come down here next to the cone. This is a very sheer wash, not a lot of paint in my brush. I have water in my brush, small amount of paint, blended in with that water. That's how I keep this nice and sheer. Okay, so this thing right here, I can't really see mine, so I'm going to try and look at my pattern and draw it or paint it like I see it on the pattern. It's just a little like curly curl thing on there, you know, where the ice cream, that was the end of the ice cream and it fell over. Okay, so while we have this color, we can go ahead and shade with that wash of color on this ice cream. So again, we're going to do that same little wash of color around our sticks and along the bottom. Okay, gently tap with your finger or with a mop brush, whatever you have handy. I'll put a little bit on this edge out here. Kind of make that maybe the shadow edge of that ice cream. That's looking pretty good. And one layer of that may do it for the ice cream part. On this one, we might need a second little wash of color. It's more of a shadowed area. So that is just one little wash of color on each one. So I think what I'll do is I'll do color by color. So on my instructions, I'll probably have the ice cream on the cone and the ice cream on the pop. What did I call this one? I think I called it ice cream pop. Ice cream pop. So we're going to do the vanilla ice cream on both the cone and the ice cream pop. I missed this up here. I do. Now you can go down to a smaller brush here for this one. I do want to put a little bit of this in here. Just a little teeny tiny kiss of that along that chocolate edge right there. And we'll lighten up with white on the other edge probably. Well, maybe not, because that's kind of, you know, the back part of the ice cream pop. So I didn't know what to call that one. So I'm calling it an ice cream pop. That's a rocket pop, and this one is an ice cream cone. So that's what I've got them titled. Okay, I decided to go ahead and shade just a little bit underneath that chocolate. So I've done it twice down here next to this chocolate, and just once up there along the top edge. Okay, so we want it to be the darkest down here and the lightest up here. Just really lightly along this edge. We're going to dry brush in the middle of this, so we want to make sure that's really dry before we get to that point. Okay, we're going to highlight, and we're going to highlight with white. Okay, now with the white, unless you're using a really good opaque white, you'll probably have to do this at least 3 times. Okay, so I'm going to shade it on the outer edge. And then I'm going to dry brush it, bringing it into the center. I also want to dry brush in that area. So let me grab a dry brush. Okay, so I've got an old brush. And I just loaded it dry with some white. And I'm just going to rub it through these bigger areas. Load, offload a little bit. Okay, we're starting to see a little brightening in there. I'm just going to use my round brush and do that area. Okay, and then I'll float my shading out there a couple more times because I really want this area to be bright. So that looks pretty good on that one. So I'm going to move over to this one. I'm still going to float on that one with my white. So I want to dry brush a little bit in here. Just give it that little kiss of a highlight in there. Okay. Just a little kiss. Okay, I'm kind of done with that brush now, so I want to clean that out. It's just an old flat brush is all I use there. So I definitely want to put more out here. I want this to be brighter out here on this edge. Just brighten it up. And then I want to brighten up that little curly Q thing there. Okay. So that kind of takes care of the ice cream part. So now we're ready to move on to our cone. Now I actually might shade a little bit more down here. I feel like next to the cone it needs to be slightly darker. So I'm going to take my fawn, still just a wash, and add a tiny little bit of milk chocolate in there. keep that right next, okay, keep that right next to the cone itself. Really, you shouldn't worry too much about your background because it's black. We can come in and clean all that up after. I just want to slightly darken. I think it needed just a little kiss more. That looks pretty good. I think once we get our cone itself done, it's going to look really good. So I'll put that in the instructions to add a tiny little bit of milk chocolate to your wash and just create a little bit of darker shadow out there on that edge and next to the cone itself. Okay, we're going to work on the cone. We're going to take an equal mix of fawn and light buttermilk, and we're going to create these little, paint these little lines in that we put on here. This is the raised part of the cone. Just an equal mix. Mix. Okay, I want to put some lines on here. Just kind of dry brushing these. Get a little bit of moisture. Okay. I'm also going to dry brush some of this in the center of this. Okay, so that's our first little layer on there. That was an equal mix of fawn and light buttermilk. Okay, testing if I wanted this color for a shading color. This is asphaltum. Again, I'm making a wash of this color and loading just the corner of my brush and gently smoothing that out on there, creating a beautiful little shadow. I'm going to dry that real quick. I'm going to go down this edge. And down this edge. I might walk it over a little bit into the cone part. Okay, a little bit on this edge as well. Okay, that's asphaltum. It's very sheer, so let me show you how I make a sheer float. So I'm rinsing my brush out. I'm going to lay it on my paper towel and let it wick out the moisture. I'm going to go grab a little bit, just a teeny tiny little bit of paint, and you see, can you see how wet that is? That's that edge right there, that's the moisture. And I'm going to work it into that moisture, get it a wash of color. Then I'm going to touch my paper towel, and now I can go to my surface and paint. If this is very light, I can go back and add a little bit more paint in there because it's still very wet wash, and I can repeat this and I can just load more right on onto the brush without having to do it all over again, you know, do the mixing and with the water and stuff. Asphaltum's pretty transparent anyway, so this just gives it a little bit more transparency. Okay, so that side is with underneath the elements, and on the left side is with asphaltum, and I did it twice. And now I'm going to highlight on the opposite side with some white. So I want this to be a little dry brushy, so I'm just going to kind of drag my brush up the edge here. Not worrying about the background because I can touch all that up. Just kind of dry brushy there. So that means I load very small amount of paint on my brush. My brush is damp, but I don't have much paint, and then I went and wiped my paper towel and wicked out the excess moisture out of my brush. So I mostly just had paint, a little tiny bit of paint in there. Okay, I think I'll dry brush along here. Give that a little bit of highlight. Okay, we don't have to do much more to our cone part. I'm going to touch up the background when I'm done here. If your white fades down in too much, just come back and do it again. And just get that lightness on there. I might have a little bit too much lightness going across here. But I think overall that looks pretty good. Just a couple of quick little dry brush white highlights. So the cone, I'm considering the cone done. Okay, so our rocket pop here, it's going to be fairly easy. We're going to make a wash of our blue with a tiny, might add red in there and see if I can make a purpley color. I want to make a wash. I have to add a little bit of dirty something in there, a little bit of that brown. We want this to be a gray blue, so it's the two colors and a tiny little bit of dark chocolate. We're getting that kind of dark gray blue there. Okay, I'm going to take my 2 round brush. This is just a wash, and I'm going to wash down through this area where I can still see my lines of this color. Okay, create those little dents in there. And I'm also going to shade with this wash. So I'm going to take my brush, make sure I've got the excess moisture out of it. Okay, this one is not going to require a lot of steps. At least I'm hoping it's not going to require a lot of steps. I want to dry that because I don't want to accidentally get my hand or my paintbrush in it. Okay, and we're going to shade with this wash. I might have to thicken that up just a tiny bit for my shading. So I'm just going to mix a little bit on my brush. And we're going to go down this edge. It's still a pretty light color. As you can see, when we go through our white areas, it's not incredibly dark. It's blue. It's our blue and our red, and a little bit of what color did I use? Dark chocolate. I need to find a bigger area to mix this. And it's kind of just an equal mix, but if it's not, you know, gray blue enough for you, then add whatever color you need to it. You know, more dark chocolate or more blue. Highly unlikely that you'll need to use extra red. Let's go down this edge. Oh, that's really wide. Let me clean my brush. I got to get it a little bit more narrow here. Much better. I don't want it as dark on this side, but I do want it to have a little bit. I have to darken the other side. I want to make sure it's dry. Me some more. Go along the bottom, and then we're going to come up next to this ice cream here. Okay, I think I'm going to go in the center area here again. Pick up some of that wash that I made. And we'll go through here. Through here. I'm going to highlight on the top edge. Oops, just stuck my hand in my wash. I want a little bit more on here, especially down here. Best to let your layers dry. Well, okay. Alright, that's my shading color. And do it 2 times. Let it dry. Did it 2 times on the left, 1 time on the right, 2 times down the center. 2 times around next to the chocolate and the bottom. All the left edge, the bottom, and next to the other ice cream gets 2. The right edge gets 1. The center lines get 2. So that's where we're at there. And I need to get this dry. All right. We're going to start highlighting on this one, because this one just needs a little shading and a little highlighting. It doesn't need a ton of work to it. So we're going to highlight with some white. Just along this top here. It's kind of a dry brushy highlight. We're also going to do this along beside our areas here. It's also kind of a dry brushy highlight. We'll do each edge. I'm just using a 1/4 inch angle brush so I can keep this very close to this dark line that we put in here. Dry brushy because I did not add any extra moisture into my brush. It was just damp. Too much moisture is going to bring that red down into our white. You don't want that. I mean, not that it's going to hurt. It's a popsicle, you know, kind of thing. Go back over the top part here. And really that's all we need to do to that one. It's I might put a little bit down through here. Let's bring that highlight down just a little bit, give it a little bit more shine. You can go all the way to the outer edge of this one because we put that shading on there so lightly, so we can kiss a little bit just in a couple places out there and give it that little bit of a shine. We can't do it down there because this would be more like a reflective light on this one because we did shade along it. So we can put just a little kiss of that dry brushed white on there. Okay, and go and do your sections here as many times as you feel like they need them. I like to put it on here and pull it out with my finger because I think that really gives it more texture and bouncing off of the highlight. Okay, so that's all we need to do to the rocket pop. That's what I'm calling it, a rocket pop. I don't know what they're called, but I'm calling it a rocket pop. Okay, I am going to shade on the chocolate with asphaltum, and I'm going to be shading around where our drips are. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of this down here because this will be the indent, the shadowy area. Maybe create a little bit of a line coming off of those. Okay. Alright, I do want to shade down here in this corner. And down here on this edge. Not on top of those parts that come up, just down in those corners. Definitely going to have to repeat that. Up there it looks pretty dark, so I might just do a couple of places to get some darker shadow to make that drippy stuff look really, really dark. We can also put some of this down here. A bit darker edge there, a little bit more in here, just a little bit. Alright, let's make a couple of these a little bit darker. Okay, give us a little bit more of a shadow coming off of that. I think I'm actually going to have to go down this edge because I need to straighten it up a little bit. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. That was 2 times with the asphaltum in my shadowy areas. I'm not going to worry about that tiny little bit of chocolate that's showing up there. It won't really matter. Okay, so we want to highlight on here. And darken just a tiny bit down in this valley because it won't be highlighted in here. Just a little kiss of some of this asphaltum. It's kind of a wash of it. Just kind of tap it in there. Give it a little bit more of a shadowy area. Alright, so let's highlight on here, and I think I'm going to use, I don't want to have to get a bunch of other colors out because we've got quite a few colors out already. So I'm going to try and make like a sable brown color by mixing equally fawn and milk chocolate, and I think this might give us a little bit of a fawn color. Not fawn, sable brown color. that we can highlight with. So we're just going to pick our little areas where we want to put a little bit of this highlighting. Okay, so it's going to be on the up part of those, on each side of that little dark line that we put there. Make it look more pointed. And then a little bit out here in the middle. And you'll want to do it a couple of times. I'm just kind of tapping it in there. I don't want to fill the whole area. So that's going to give us a little kiss of highlight on there. I kind of like that. We might come back and brighten that with some white. Maybe I'll just add a little bit of white into my brush here and blend it with that mix that's in there. And we'll just get a little kiss of a brighter shine on our chocolate. Kind of dry brushy. We're not filling in every spot. Just a little bit. Okay. I think that gives our chocolate a little bit better shine on there. So we did the equal mix of the fawn and the milk chocolate, and then we got some white and blended it in, so it was an equal mix of all three at that point. And just put our highlights on there. I think that looks really good for our chocolate. Not a lot of work. Alright, so I'm going to put some sprinkles on the red part of my ice cream pop. And so I've got the colors Festive Green, Fuchsia Pop, or any kind of bright pink, Saffron Yellow, Crisp Blue, and I've got some white out because I'm going to mix white probably with each one of these colors for my first layer, and then just go back with straight color on my second layer. Because a couple of these colors are a little transparent, and this will mean that I don't have to put so many coats on here. So I'm going to start with my green, and I'm just going to make little sprinkles on here all over my green area, or my pink area. Okay, that's a good amount to start with. You don't need much paint for this, so just use whatever color paints you got. Alright, my Fuchsia Pop, which is a very bright pink. Hopefully this will show up. Okay. My next color is the yellow. I'm using saffron. Use whatever bright yellow that you have. Okay, and then some crisp blue, and we've used this color up in just creating some little sprinkles, some little sprinkly sprinkles. Okay, and then we'll put a few just white ones on here, and we'll go back with the second layer of just our plain paint without the white in it, which should brighten these up. So hopefully you can tell what's what on here, and then we can go back and fill in wherever we feel like we need to fill in more. My straight green, and find my green ones. And I'll probably do this a couple of times because I really want these colors to pop on here. Most of these are transparent colors, so I think I got all the green ones. Go to my pink. This pink, I'm not sure it's going to show up a lot. Not sure which ones are pink. Okay. I think that one was pink. I missed it. Okay, yellow. I think I'm hitting the yellow ones. Okay, let's do blue. I really think I'm going to need a blue one somewhere else, maybe. I don't know. Let's get the white ones on there. I'm just using my 2 round brush here. Alright, so the pink ones aren't really popping out. Let me see if I can mix the white with it and get that pink to pop out a little bit. So the pink is going to have the white mixed in with it. To make them pop, or you can leave the pink off altogether. I'm going to put a pink one there, I think. It's too close to the fuchsia color. Okay, I think I want to put a few more green ones on here. I don't think this green is going to... Oh, well, maybe it will. I didn't think it would show up on this pink very well, but it is, so that's nice. Okay. Go back over a couple of my blue ones. So the pink is the only color that's really not showing up on here. And I really want it to show up on here because it's such a pretty pink. So go back over my yellow ones again. I want all these colors to really pop, pop, pop. So the green and maybe the blue you could use without mixing white in it, but the yellow you definitely cannot. It has to have that white mixed in there. I think that was a yellow one as well. Okay. This is the white. I just want to make sure all my little sprinkles look like sprinkles. Okay, that looks like fun. I like that. So I think we're going to leave that there and get ready. I want to get these dry, and then we're going to get ready to shade on this one. Okay, let's shade on the pink part, the frosting part, I guess. We're going to shade with some alizarin crimson down this edge. This is a very transparent color. Alizarin crimson will go along both edges. You can kind of walk it in. Now you could do your sprinkles after you do your shading so they stay on top. So I might come back and repaint some of those so they stay on top. I just want to see this alizarin crimson a little bit on each side. So in my instructions I'll have to do the shading part first. But if you've already done the sprinkles, that's fine. Just go back and touch up the ones that you've put some of this color over. Or you can just leave it. It really depends on what you like. Okay, just want to make sure that's dry. And I'm just going down this one edge here. And you can walk it over just a little bit. Just a little. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let's see if I want to brighten some of these back up, my yellow one. Let's see, I see a white one here. And here. I'm not sure what color that one is. Maybe it's one of the pink ones. And since I'm not really sure what color some of these other ones are, except I think one of these is green. That one's probably blue. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave it like that. I think it looks perfectly fine. Except for that one right there. Pretty sure that's a pink one. Not really sure about those colors. So yeah, I think I'll put in my instructions to do the shading first and then come back and do all of your little sprinkle things so that they're kind of standing on top. I think that looks pretty good. So, but when we do the highlighting, we definitely want the sprinkles to already be on there. So we're going to highlight now with some white. So I want to highlight up here on this edge. It's kind of a dry brushy highlight. I'm going to highlight a little bit along down here. We want our pink icing to look a little bit bright, you know, glistening with. Okay, that was a lot. I'm going to take that off because that was way too much paint on my brush. Highlight on these. A little. Just a little bit. Don't go crazy here. A bit on there. Okay, and then this line comes up through here. We can kind of highlight along that as well, maybe not quite that wide, and kind of bring that dry brush highlight up that. And brighten wherever you want to brighten. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of white in here. Just a little glistening on there. I'm going to take my round brush and go on the bottom of these because on these little things here with some white, because that angle brush was okay. Just wanted that to lift up a little bit more. My alizarin crimson. Bring it in here, just tippy toe it in a few places. Maybe on each side of that, although we really don't need it, but okay, all we got left to do are our sticks. Okay, let's shade on our sticks. I am going to shade my first shading with some fawn. It should just barely show up because we have fawn mixed in with our base coat here. So where they go into the ice cream, we want to shade. I'm going to separate these two, and I'm going to go a little bit up each edge. So I'm using a 1/4 inch angle brush so I can keep that pretty narrow. This is fawn. I'm just going to go down to about there. I'll highlight that edge, and we'll touch up our background when we're done here. Okay, that was with fawn. Not much change on it right there. Brush into some milk chocolate, and milk chocolate and fawn will be on my brush. If you already rinsed your brush, just mix like an equal mix of the two. Milk chocolate and fawn. Keeping this pretty narrow, so don't let it get out of control. Fawn and milk chocolate. Just a little bit of milk chocolate in there. Don't get too much, you'll get it way darker than what you want it. You can do it again with just fawn if you like that look a little bit better. Okay, I might take just milk chocolate and go next to the ice cream itself. Just up there. No place else, just up there. Okay? So, first shading was fawn because our base coat is fawn and white. 3 white, 1 fawn. Okay? We shaded with just fawn. Then we came back and mixed a little bit of milk chocolate in there to darken that a little bit. And then we went with just milk chocolate at the very tops of our sticks. So now we're ready to do a highlight on these. Dry brush with my round brush. I need to get the moisture out of it. Down the centers of these, just a little dry brushy. Okay, I'm going to let that dry and repeat it. Okay, I've got mine dry, so I'm going to repeat. Got a little bit of a highlight on there. And I think I'll put a little highlight on this edge here. Where it kind of comes over, that one. Maybe I'll just kiss a little highlight on this down here too. Okay, just make those look a little bit different. Okay, now we want to touch up the background. Alright, so now's the time to check your background and see if there's any areas you want to clean up. This would be extremely cute on a bag for a grandkid for summer. If they spend time with you, this could be their bag that, you know, a small little bag or a fun little box that they could put money in that they could save for their ice cream trips. Okay, just any place where you feel like you got maybe some paint in the background, just clean it up. It's just black paint, so it's not take your time. I just have a little bit on the corner of my brush here so that I can just touch up. I'm not painting the background, I'm just touching up any place that I went out farther than I want to be. Oops. And of course you can have some little melting drops coming off of this as well. And just have lots of fun with it. You can do a really fun background, but I just wanted the ice cream to stand out on its own, to pop, and to be a fun little background here. I feel like I need a little bit more white. Just in here. Okay, so now let your eyes roam, take a picture of it, hold it up in a mirror. All those things will help you see any areas that need some adjustment. So this is where you can really look at it and see what needs some help. Okay, what highlight needs to come out a little bit more. And if it needs it, then you can do it. Maybe just a kiss of a highlight on there. Just a little bitty kiss. Kiss, 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 kiss. Okay, don't overdo by getting your highlights too bold. We're still just doing dry brushing stuff here. Just giving a little kiss more of some highlight on there. This one, it's just not going to show up well on this lighter color. So, you know, you could start your ice cream out with buttermilk instead of light buttermilk, which is what I originally intended to do, but didn't. So, you know, if you want that vanilla ice cream to have a little bit more of a brighter white highlight, you can certainly do that. But I think this turned out really cute. I'm very happy with it. Very, very happy with it. So there you go. What did I name this one? Tasty Summer Treats. So there you go. Have fun with it, you guys. Have some big drips coming off of it, and just have a lot of fun with it. Okay, so I decided to varnish it. I varnished 2 coats of varnish on it, a matte varnish, and then I wanted to see what it would be like with having kind of the bokeh effect in the background, but not technically doing it as a bokeh effect. I just wanted some fun stuff in the background to pop up that background a little bit. So I just did random size circles from my random size circle stencil all over the background, and I have just the smallest amount of white paint in here. That's why they're all so faded, because I didn't have hardly any paint in my brush, and so it went incredibly fast, and I think it turned out super, super cute. So you can have a plain background, or you can have one with the circles in the background. I think it made it so much more playful. So that's it on this one, everybody. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.